Deni Avdija might just be the most underrated player in the NBA of today. When it comes down to it, a lot of specialty players are seen as underrated in the NBA. And going into the new season, I wanted to give them some appreciation so you can watch out and have a look and see who are these players and what they bring to the table. So I'm going to give my 5 favourite underrated players in the NBA. Just remember, they're my favourite, not the most underrated. Let's get into it. Don't forget to punch up that subscribe button so we can make our way to 1,000 subscribers. Let's go. So like you heard, the very first name is Deni Avdija. I'm a Wizards fan. You can see it on my top. I've got the 16-17 Death Row DC Warriors. Only player I actually still like on this t-shirt is John Wall. Not really a fan, Bradley, but I mean, I can take you. Not really. Markeith, Marcin actually. Marcin got tight, that's my guy. But Deni Avdija is another player I really enjoy watching as a Wizards fan. There's a lot of players that people say right now, like Jaden McDaniels. People say he's incredibly underrated. No one appreciates just how good he is defensively. We're all talking about how good Jaden McDaniels is defensively. Nobody's talking about how good Deni Avdija is defensively. Deni Avdija gets in his bag. He takes on the toughest challenge every single game. He prevents the most baskets every single game. When looking at the advanced stats, Deni Avdija, when it comes to matchup difficulty and points prevented, matches up with some of the best in the league in terms of defense. And I feel like Deni Avdija is only 22 years old. He can now get into his bag and turn into a better offensive player and help propel the Wizards forward. There's been a lot of talks about him obviously going into the last year of his rookie deal and whether it's worth extending him. I think it's all or nothing now for Deni Avdija, and I've seen him put in a lot of work in the off-season in some of the stuff he struggled with in the regular season, like finishing with his left hand, or some of the 3-point shooting had declined slightly. So if he can really step up the tempo on that offense, we can really see a breakout year for Deni Avdija. And while the Wizards won't be a great team this year, going into like 2025 or 2026 where we can get a really good draft pick, someone like Cooper, if we could get somebody really good, then we can end up having that defensive stopper and all defensive team player in Deni Avdija as well. Because effectively, when you're on a losing team, nobody really takes notice of the defense. But because I'm a Wizards fan, I can see you. I appreciate you, Deni. I love you, Deni. Big up you. Number 2, we have Isaiah Hartenstein. I think Isaiah Hartenstein is one of those bigs that everyone looks past constantly, and it constantly annoys me as well. Isaiah Hartenstein puts in a shift every single game. When he was in Cleveland, he was amazing. Now he's in New York, he's amazing. I mean, he's hardly an all-star, but he's a good rebounder, he's a good shooter, he's a good finisher, he's a good defender. He does everything well, in the same caliber of like a Wendell Carter Jr. You know, Wendell Carter Jr. is young, so a lot of people have stocks in him because of that. But Isaiah Hartenstein isn't exactly old, is he? And he doesn't really make many mistakes. He does what you need him to do. And if he can effectively do it on a higher stage, people will see it. I mean, right now they obviously start Mitchell Robinson some of the time. But in the playoffs, we saw that effectively it worked quite well when they took off Julius Randle and they put on Hartenstein. It looks really good because Hartenstein can do all the nitty-gritty stuff. He can do the work rate stuff. And when Julius Randle isn't up to game, he can do the shooting as well if you need him to. So I'm really a fan of Isaiah Hartenstein, and I feel like going into the 2023-2024 NBA season, he's someone you should look out for. Number three is going to be a sophomore player, one that I've spoken about, other people have spoken about, but I feel like we need to expect to jump from them. Christian Braun. Christian Braun was an NCAA champion in Kansas. Came into the NBA and became an NBA champion with Denver. He's had the greatest 2 years for any 21-year-old I've ever met. And essentially, I expect Christian Braun to have a better season than Michael Porter Jr. I love MPJ. Don't get twisted. I really like MPJ. But Christian Braun does everything. I'm talking from the defense, to the playmaking, to the defending, to the shooting, to the finishing inside. He does everything. And I feel like he wasn't really the 6th man because Bruce Brown was there. So he was more the 7th or 8th man on that bench. So now you're looking at him, Bruce Brown's gone. You don't have Reggie Jackson that's going to be the 6th man. So really and truly, your 6th man is Christian Braun. And he's going to take a jump. He will take a jump. I'm not saying that he might take a jump. He will take a jump. I think he's going to slide so perfectly into that 6-man role. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wins 6th Man of the Year. That's my prediction for 6th Man of the Year. Christian Brown. When you get to my awards predictions video, you will see I will say Christian Brown is my expected 6th Man of the Year winner. At number 4, we have a player that people speak about a little bit, but not a lot. I think he deserves all the flowers in the world. A lot of these players have the same theme of they can do everything, and this player is no exception. Josh Okogie. Josh Okogie was the defensive player for the Suns last year. The Suns weren't an amazing defensive team, but they weren't a bad defensive team. But if you're looking for defense, obviously Kevin Durant is a good defender. Chris Paul isn't a good defender anymore, and Devin Booker's just an above average defender. The best defender on that team was Joshua Okogie, and he's going into the new season with an even better team now. The players that can shoot as well, so the offensive weight is taken off him. He doesn't have to be that guy to knock down the shot in the corner anymore. He can get into his bag a little bit. He will start. If he doesn't start, then there's something wrong with Frank Vogel. So I think he will start for the Suns at small forward. I think it will be a Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Joshua Okogie, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Ayton lineup. And I feel like he's going to do the real nitty gritty stuff. He will do the score the bucket when you need him to score a bucket when nobody else has a shooting night going on. And I'm just really impressed with Josh Okogie. There was that one play on Jalen Green. I love Jalen Green. You saw I made a video on Jalen Green already. I love Jalen Green. But there was the one play where he got the snatch block, picked it up, ran down, sent Jalen Green, and knocked it down on the jam. And that opened a lot of people's eyes on Josh Okogie, but I feel like the entire NBA sphere, stratosphere, needs to open their eyes and see what Josh Okogie can really do. Really underrated player. And at number 5, this one is a little bit surprising. First, let's get into the etymology of the word underrated. For me, it's a player that people don't rate highly enough. For their capabilities, it is a player people don't seem to understand just how good they are. And for me, no player signifies this right now more than Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, people are sleeping on. I'm telling you, people haven't seen how good he's been. Last year, he was just below 50, 40, 90 club. He's still scoring at least 22 points per game. He's still giving at least 7 assists per game. And I feel like because he went to the Dallas Mavericks, people forgot about the entire season with the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets were amazing. Even when Kevin Durant was injured, the Brooklyn Nets were still pretty good. They weren't bad. Like they dropped off a little bit, but they were still pretty good. And Kyrie's gone to Dallas Mavericks and it hasn't really worked straight away. You know, Jason Kidd hasn't meshed them together as well as he wanted to. You know, they gave up a lot of their outside shooting, gave up a lot of their rebounding as well, trying to get Kyrie Irving. But now they've added in more pieces that can really help them out. I think they've had a pretty good offseason. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Dallas Mavericks are in the running again. I feel like he can really... We've seen the offense be phenomenal with Luka. Don't get it twisted. We've seen them work together fantastically. But it's just been lackluster in terms of supporting cast. The supporting cast hasn't been good at all. And I feel like if they could get a sign and trade with Christian Wood for another really good role player, the Dallas Mavericks are in business. Because look at it, it's Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. Who's stopping them offensively? Like who's guarding them two? I can't think of a team that can guard both of those players on any given night. But give Kyrie his flowers. Watch out for the Mavericks this year. Watch, they've got this. Hear me out. But yeah, those are my 5 underrated players. I feel like they're really underrated in terms of today's NBA, and hopefully going into next season people can open their eyes and have as much vision as me, because the world revolves around me. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you man in a bit. Boom.